Today is Earth Day, and to many teens, climate change is a pressing issue. Both the Sunrise Movement and the Massachusetts Climate Strike are comprised of groups of teenagers working to pass proposals like the Green New Deal. I sat down with two students from Northampton High School who are passionate about the issue and are part of both movements.
The Sunrise Movement is a youth-led organization around the country, and there are hubs, which are basically little chapters of the movement. And it was created in order to fight for the Green New Deal and other immediate climate change legislation that recognizes that climate change is a huge existential threat, and we need to look at it from all aspects, from an economic perspective, a social justice perspective, as well as, of course, the environmental perspective.
Okay, and so Willa, why is this so important to you?
Well, personally, as a youth in today's society, we've grown up knowing climate change is an existential threat for this entire time, and I think that immediate action, lots of youth today feel that. So the Sunrise Movement specifically is a youth-led organization that prioritizes, that says there is these frontline communities, which include youth, which include people in poverty, and it really prioritizes them in terms of kind of the action that's being taken. So that's really important to me, is that this movement includes the people who are being targeted the most by climate change.
Being targeted how? Meaning that being affected, like your future is at stake?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Some climate change is very intersectional, so that means that there's this whole concept of environmental justice where communities of color, communities in poverty, people on the front line, and obviously youth, because it's our futures at stake, and not everyone will be impacted the same amount. The communities who have contributed the most to climate change in terms of carbon and emissions will be the least impacted, so it's there's a whole justice component in fighting for climate change legislation.
Okay, so you guys like the Green New Deal. What is it that you like about the Green New Deal?
Well, the Green New Deal, it's great because it proposes really progressive, really radical solutions to climate change, though it's a resolution, so it's not actual physical things that are going to be put into law. So basically, we really admire it's 100% renewable energy by 2030, and that's really exciting. The proposal is that, again, it addresses it as an economic, as a social justice solutions that go along with climate change. So that's really exciting and new in terms of climate legislation.
And I think the word progress or progressive and radical is something that will scare a lot of people when you say that, people who are on the other side of it. One of the things that you mentioned was changing over from fossil fuels by 2030. And some people say that will cost as many as 3.4 million jobs. And I know your heart is in the right place, but when you hear that, those are real people, real families, real money that would be lost. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and that's something that we've thought a lot about, and through crafting the Green New Deal, it's not just some aspiration, it's not a green dream. Economists have looked into it, all sorts of people, and it makes the most sense, because what we really want to emphasize here is that we're going to be paying no matter what we do. If we pass the Green New Deal, we'll be paying for preventing climate change, versus we can pay 30 years from now to clean up all of the disasters caused by climate change through extreme weather and things like that. So it's really something that we need to deal with as soon as possible, and it's not going to go away. So if we don't pass it, then we're going to be paying for a lot more in the future.
Right. And do you have a comment on that, just as far as, costing jobs? Because I know that you really care about this issue and you're worried about your generation, right? But if it does affect people as far as jobs go, and that's just one component, that's kind of a hard sell as you're going out and trying to convince people.
Right. I think what we're looking at is an entire economic switch. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is one of the creators of this bill, has spoken a lot to that, and how we really need to see a complete economic switch in our country over from fossil fuels, coal, to renewable energy, because there are jobs being created in this renewable energy that we really need to see too as a new potential for people to find work. So this is, And we also really want to say that we're the fossil fuel executives who are causing this issue, not the fossil fuel people who were working in those industries.
But it doesn't matter if you're out of work, right? It doesn't matter if you change it over and now you're out of a job.
Yeah.
So
there's just a lot of jobs in the solar industries and other industries of renewable energy. Right. And so I think it really will provide a whole economic shift. And the thing is, if we don't do something now, we only have 11 more years, according to the UN report in October of 2018, before it's too late to make a change, and we have caused irreversible climate change.
And so a lot of people will say that, because I know AOC has also talked about that we have 12 years left, and they say, look, she's really creating hysteria, especially among young people, that the world is going to end. People have predicted this before, especially with climate change. There's also been different reports with this. So what do you say to people who say that this is just a whole bunch of hysteria that she's, kind of stirring up?
Well, I would say that I would look to, although Representative Ocasio-Cortez has been really championing this issue and bringing it to the news attention, the scientists are the ones who did the report, and they have spent years studying this. And so it's not some hysteria, it's not some hoax created by the liberals. This is climate change, and this is our futures, and we're not going to stand by. It's a nonpartisan issue, and we're not going to stand by while action is being avoided to protect our futures.
And I have to say, you're a sophomore and you're a junior in high school, and you're out and about, really speaking your mind and learning all the science behind this. 2 quick questions. What do you want to do when you leave high school?
Oh man, I'm definitely gonna go into some sort of public policy field, so including public health. Also interested in journalism in terms of climate change, but I think and looking at kind of the overall effect. So this is the Sunrise Movement, the youth climate strikes that we've been seeing are definitely part of my interest that I want to go with moving forward.
And how about you?
I don't really have an idea in terms of actual fields, but no matter what I go into, I really am sure that this is going to be an issue that I will always care about. And no matter who you are, you can really just take the issue of climate change into account, because you're not going to be exempt. Everyone will be impacted by climate change.